Thank you very much. That was quite a mouthful, so we'll have to be mindful of the length of our title in the future. So on behalf of the Global Pharma Services team at Quest Diagnostics, it's my pleasure to welcome you. My name is David Freeman, and I lead the business unit at Quest Diagnostics that's focused on data analytics and analytics-based services for all of our key customers. And I'm happy to talk to you today about the Quest approach and give you a couple of case examples of how we're partnering with sponsors, CROs, and other members of the clinical trial community to really transform clinical trial outreach. So you may be familiar with Quest Diagnostics and some of the assets that we have, but within a clinical trial context, these things take on new meaning. So from I'll go starting at 1 o'clock. We have relationships with 90% of U.S. insured lives through our health plan relationships. We touch about a third of the U.S. population every year and half the U.S. population within 5. And we have a strategic joint venture with IQVIA, which is with Q Squared, where we can do central lab testing for pharma. And you'll see on the top left-hand side, we have over 10 years of longitudinal data, and that is powered by over 55 billion data points. Those are identified lab results, and it comes as a relationship of our diagnostic services with over 140 million patients, about 4 billion lab results every year. And we serve half the U.S. hospitals and physicians and care teams. And we also have a global diagnostic network that serves over 50 countries. When I mentioned the Global Pharma Services team, there are really multiple teams at Quest Diagnostics that are really focused on the pharma space. So with regard to generating clinical insights, whether it's at the research phase where people are trying to understand patient journey, diagnostic journey, therapeutic journey, we work through a series of de-identification partners to create linkable, customized statements of work to really help people understand populations, and we have the scale to really focus those populations based on the therapeutic program of interest. Then Clinical Trials Connect, which is really helps customers understand what kind of clinicians are seeing physicians, what kind of clinicians are seeing patients, what's the diagnostic history of those patients, what are the counts based on inclusion-exclusion criteria, and how to think about the principal investigators, and are they having a meaningful population of those patients? And then we can outreach directly to those patients. And then there's the clinical insights that comes at the launch planning phase, and as well as the commercialization feedback and inputs. And then a really important part of Quest Diagnostics is through our development activities, really focused on assay development, validation, and scale up. This is really, helping our clients create companion diagnostics, whether qualitative or quantitative, throughout the therapeutic cycle. So we really believe that the traditional paradigm of a top-down, picking sites first and PIs first and moving patients to those sites is, particularly in this time, largely in need of an alternative approach or a companion approach. And that is really to start with patients and to really think about how to identify patient populations, where they are, how many there are, and then to do outreach programs in a way that's relevant to those patients, as well as proximal to where they work, live, and play. And so these are all services that are in conjunction with our patient service centers, our mobile phlebotomist team, Our teams are able to go into the home, into the workplace, as well as we can identify patient service centers out of the over 2,500 that we have, many of them in retail that are close to patients. And then that is supported by an analytics backbone that goes throughout the process, excuse me, so that we can continue to optimize the outreach services. So the Quest keys are kind of lined out at the top, where we start with at scale insights, and then we identify patients and their patient relationships to their care teams. We can outreach to where they work, shop, live, and get care, and then that backbone. And really, as this shift happens between physical sites only and virtual sites, and maybe the hybrid approach with sub-PIs and naive sites, Quest is prepared and has been working with clients to really think about, in the clinical trial design phase, what's the right mix of this for getting the optimal and efficient outreach programs that really deliver patients that pass the pre-screen and engage and enroll and are retained in a trial. Quest is a very strong, trusted brand, and we work very, very hard to make sure that that stays that way through our deep attention to privacy throughout our privacy practices throughout our organization. And I think that patients really understand that Quest is a trusted brand, a healthcare brand. And as a result, we have very high engagement from our patients when we outreach to them. And part of that, I think, is, in fact, because we're trying to be relevant to them. So if you look at the industry average, and this is a healthcare industry average for open rates and click-through rates, we're significantly above those. And that really does translate into results in the programs. So on the left-hand side, what you'll see is we worked with a sponsor to do an outreach program. They gave us sort of how many emails they thought we would need to send, over 5 million, so that we could really get that many delivered, opened, click-through rate, pre-screened, and consented. And the original design was a 6-week program. In fact, we were able to, through the first outreach, almost completely satisfy this request. So the first outreach was about 200,000. We had a 94% delivery rate, 46% open rate, 15% click-through rate, and successfully pre-screened half of those patients. And then we were able to get e-consent 21% of those. The client is so thrilled with the work that we're doing. It obviously saves time and money. And it's really, I think, also from a patient perspective and a clinical trial staff perspective, really satisfiers. And we were able to actually meet the timeline. We had to actually slow down because they were surprised by how many patients we were able to deliver in the first wave. But this, I think, really shows the power and the scale. First of all, that we could identify 5 million patients that met the IE criteria, and that we didn't have to, based on our practices, which we've refined over a number of years. So we have a consultative approach. We typically meet with our clients. We have a data scientist, medical staff, and our clinical trials team, and we look forward to the opportunity to meet and speak with you about how to address the opportunities and even the obstacles faced in reaching the right, highly efficient and relevant way. Thank you very much.